Hey everybody, it's Cameron here from the Rocket Punch crew with another new show to introduce to you guys here. Another cool, awesome collab, in my opinion here. As we said before, this isn't Will. This is much cooler than Will. No, I love Will to death. No, this is Carla. I'm here with Carla, cop of Weird Giraffe Games. Carla, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Doing good. Okay. Just great.
Oh, just great. I mean, it's really fun to talk to you, but like this cat, he just keeps complaining.
Well, that's fine. He's part of the show now. We'll bring them in. We'll adopt them as part of this show here. No, I'm really excited about this one, this show specifically, because we haven't really thinking about it in the time that we've been doing Rocket Punch. We haven't done a show like this before. We haven't even really walked down this realm of gaming, honestly. Well, we've talked about a little bit about board games and whatnot, but we haven't like dove deep into this. And so I'm really excited because I feel like I'm going to learn a lot from you. Hopefully you have some nuggets of knowledge that'll be like, oh, okay.
We'll at least learn something. We'll learn a bit about each other, I bet.
You know what? That's probably true. That's 100% true. For everyone listening, this show is Dice, Decks, and Design. This is our board game, for lack of a better explanation, this is our board game podcast here at Rocket Punch. We reached out. I'm gonna tell the story, the origin story, as it were. So we've been trying to collaborate for a while, if I think about it. Months? Years, maybe? Am I right in thinking that?
I don't know. I feel like the first time I was on Rocket Punch was like 2 years?
It's been a while. It's been at least 2 to 3 years ago. And we've always wanted to find a way to collaborate or figure something out. And then I remember I was over here playing some board games. We have a really good design, like a design idea for something we could create, which I still have the ideas and some stuff I wrote down at home. We're going to work on that.
Yes,
we're definitely going to work on that. But it was one of the things that I know, because this is right before we launched our 4.0 stuff, and it was like, let me ask Carla, let's collaborate. Now's the perfect time as any. We got new content coming through, and let's go through it. And Carla was probably like, oh, who is this guy? I don't know. But reluctantly said yes. No. But now we're here. We're sitting down. We're going to talk board games. How pumped are you? Like, I am really curious. How pumped are you? Because you talk about board games and like board games are your life, and now you have another thing to talk about board games with. Is that good for you or not good for you?
So I'm really excited. So I just do board games all the time. I run a board game company. I go to conventions and I talk more board games. And in my spare time, I also design and play board games. But right now, I'm not talking about myself or my company. We're going to talk about game design, which is super exciting.
That's really cool.
Yeah, like I've been on a number of interviews, and they always ask, like, where did your company name come from? Let's give me the rundown of this specific game. And it's like, well, I've done it like 30 times, so I'm really good at it. But let's do something that's different. Like, that will be different every episode. And hopefully, like, we'll just design lots of games.
That'll be really cool. Get a lot of ideas out on the table. I should have like a tally to see like when we do some design stuff. When's the first episode we're going to be like, man, that actually is a really good idea, and we like somehow mark it down and put it to make it a real thing.
Well, so today, like we set today as the day that we're going to start recording, and I've already had 2 game designs like that I've written down that just come to me because like I guess like you put me in the designing mood or something.
Yes.
So hopefully we just go awesome. Crazy with design, like, well, and like we can continue with all of them, but like there will be at least 1 or 2 if we make like 20 of them that are actually good.
We should. Yeah. Well, before we get rolling into the show proper here, I want to do quick backstory. We talked about the show. I'm going to talk about you real quick. We got to get plugs for you out there. So, number one, for people, if you don't know Carla, we actually did way back when one of our shows, Creator Spotlight, where we talked about a lot of different creators in our area and people that we knew. Carla and her husband Nick were on there for Weird Giraffe Games. We're planning, because of how our feeds have been lately, we're planning to re-release those. So hopefully we'll have something for people soon on that. But for people who don't know, they're jumping in fresh. Talk a little bit more about yourself and Weird Giraffe Games, like how its origin and like what you do.
Okay, well, so I originally started Weird Giraffe Games because I went to Dragon Con. And at Dragon Con, I was just wandering around and just going to different panels and, hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know, Dragon Con is this huge convention that's held in Atlanta, Georgia.
It's awesome, by the way.
Yes,
Awesome.
there is something for everyone. Like, I've gotten to see panels with the actors of Star Trek or Firefly, or like basically if there is a show that you like, they probably have the people that have been on it and talking and doing panels. There's even like things like there's a science track, there's a furry track, there's like, there's board games as well. The weird part is I never actually, I wasn't too much into board games for the years I was going to Dragon Con. It was just like
okay.
That last one where like I didn't know that there was like a board game section at Dragon Con.
I feel like if like the main thing is pop culture, but then all the small pockets for like board games and stuff. I know I went one year for anime. They're in very tiny areas that you have to like search for.
Yeah, well, it's huge, Dragon Con. Now, like I'm at the point where I'm like never again. Because, well, I've been going to other board game conventions, and the first time that I went to the largest board game convention in the U.S., I was amazed because I could spread my arms out like this and not touch anyone.
That's always nice, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a convention where it's basically a hotbed for disease like 70% of the time.
Oh, yeah, like Dragon Con, it's like you're going to be touching 5 people at all times, probably.
And at least 3 of the 5 will be sweaty in some way. It's always the case.
But I mean, it's exciting because you get to meet people. Like, I got to like see basically everyone that I've ever liked a TV show. So that was great.
Yes.
I was there and I didn't want to wait in line for things, so I was just going to random panels. And one of the panels was how to design a board game.
Okay.
So I went there and I actually had to sit on the floor because it was so full. And they were taking questions and answering them. And there was this, 9-year-old child that had all the questions. And I was like, whoa.
But that's good, though. You want the children to be inquisitive like that.
Yeah, but I was like, a 9-year-old has these questions on board game design? Like, I guess if a 9-year-old child could do it, then surely I can do it, too. It was like a 4-hour drive back from Atlanta, and during this drive back, I was talking about this board game panel that I went to, and I'm sure everyone in the car was kind of fed up with things and tired. But I forced them to design a board game. It was actually just a card game. We designed it, and I made a ton of notes, and then a couple months later, I found the notes, and I was like, oh yeah, card game. Let's do it. And I just got index cards. One of the things in the panel was anyone can design a board game. You just take some index cards, make cards, and test it out.
Okay.
It's actually not that easy, but the first part is the first iteration of just write stuff on index cards, and then go from there. I was like, oh yeah, I have index cards. It gets harder once you have to iterate and make it really great, but that comes later. I ended up making a card game. We played it, and it worked. I was like, whoa, this is a game. What do I do now?
It's a thing that I can play and show other people how to play.
Yep. So I went and I researched because I'm great at researching. I know how Google works.
We talked about this before the show started.
Yep.
She does. She's really good with it.
Yeah, that's my superpower. So I Googled and it was you should make a company. And I was like, okay, how do I make a company? What kind do I make? And then I made an LLC and I did all these other things. I made so many checklists. And eventually I brought that game to Kickstarter. I got artwork, actually from Brian Walker, who is also a Huntsville native.
Okay. Awesome.
So that was exciting because I got, yeah, he's a real cool guy. And he does artwork in town. That game was called Super Hack Override. It went to Kickstarter, I believe, in 2016. And, you know, it funded and everything was good. And then I got more ideas. So I was like, okay, well, I have this audience. They theoretically like my games. And I just kept making them.
Like, I've got them. I got to give them to them right now while I have them in my hand.
But, like, once you start designing, like I did the one game and then I finished it. And then I did one game. And now I carry around, like, a thing of, like, 20. Like, at some point in, like, a designer's life, it just
happens.
Yeah. Like, it goes so much more than it did before. Like, you can be satisfied with one for, like, a certain amount of years. And then it's just like, oh, I have 5 games that I designed today. And
on to the next idea, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons of kind of in us doing a board game podcast, we always knew that we wanted to have an expert on, or at least somebody who knows a lot more about board games and stuff than we do. And I think that you were the awesome pick and the right pick. So excited to have you on.
And local.
Yeah, that's right too. We don't have to go too far to record these episodes. But I'm excited, and I know that you're going to have a lot of insight into design of games, board games, publishing. You've worked with Kickstarter and a lot of other stuff that, you know, I'm hoping to learn and just absorb information. Everything you just pull, I'm just going to absorb it. But also hoping that it gives a lot of cool insight for everybody listening and watching, to whether you're an aspiring game designer out there for board games, or if you're just really interested in it, or if you just like board games. Hopefully that you're in the right place and you're going to have a lot of fun with us here. Let's jump into it. I'm going to run through the housekeeping so everybody knows what's going on here. Welcome to Dice, Decks, and Design, your board game podcast from us here at Rocket Punch. You can listen to the show monthly. So we'll have one episode each month out for you guys here, just talking about the various topics, which we will go through here in just a little bit. Of course, guys, if you want to find more of Dice, Decks, and Design, as well as any other cool Rocket Punch stuff that we do, you can head over to rocketpunchgo.com. That is your one-stop shop for all things Rocket Punch, videos, podcasts, and more. Going to be right there at your fingertips. If you want to support us and support not only this show, but all of the Rocket Punch shows we do, there are plenty of different ways you could do that. You can share and spread the word on Dice, Decks, and Design to your friends. Every time a new episode pops up, show it off to your friends. Tell them, hey, go check it out. While I really hope that he's in the frame. Yes, he's in the frame. We're so keeping that. All the cats, they're like I said, they're the mascots for the show, so keep them in the frame. If you're listening via audio and you're not watching the video for this, and somehow like I make it in the video, you're missing out. You need to go watch the video. You can also follow us and continue following and sharing our content on social media here. We're of course at Rocket Punch Go. Make sure I'm saying Weird Giraffe Games.
Yep, Weird Giraffe Games
on basically anything social. So
yeah, all of it. We
Facebook.
Even have a Reddit now. Subreddit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're the future. Have a subreddit.
Is Reddit the future?
It's the newest thing that we have.
Okay. So, yeah, I was like, the future might be a little bit of a stretch there for Reddit.
The Huntsville Reddit is like the best Reddit that I've ever been on. So
Huntsville's Reddit is cool.
Yeah.
They are really cool. There are a lot of helpful people out there. You guys can follow us on all of our social media accounts on there as well. Don't worry, we'll have them in the show notes for you also, so you don't miss a beat with that. If you want to get this show as well as a few of our other shows a week early, make sure you head over to our Patreon page on patreon.com/rocketpunch. You'll be able to get early access to each new episode of Dice, Decks, and Design a week early before anybody else does. So if you want to stay ahead of the competition and jump in the conversations right as they're done, then you can definitely head over there, find out how you can do that, and continue to support the show. And speaking of Patreon, as we do in every piece of content that we have, we always give a shout out to our Patreon producers. These are the people supporting us at our Platinum tier. So thank you so much to Chuck O, Jossie M, Sam S, Jeremy M, Stephen S, and Tyler H. Thank you guys so much for your continued support of making sure that like we haven't like completely lost the feed, and we haven't. Everything's cool. This is working out perfectly. Let's jump into the show proper, guys. Here, so Carla and I worked out kind of what we wanted to talk about in the show, and we've broken it up into 3 different segments. The first segment we're going to talk about here is called Designer's Corner, where we're going to get into the mechanics of Designer's Corner. But basically, we're going to more or less talk about design and almost design a concept or a game on the podcast, which is pretty cool. Segment 2 is going to be Diaries of a Game Designer. This is where we're going to lean a whole lot on Carla here and kind of listen and get some advice from somebody who you've been through the publishing, you've been through the Kickstarter, you've been to conventions, you've done all the stuff that game publishers are going to do, and you've got some insight and stuff, and it's going to be cool to kind of get some ideas from you on that. Mm-hmm. And then the last segment is Carla's commendation, where we're actually Carla, each episode she's going to pick a game for us that she recommends for people to play, why she likes it, and then take a look at it and kind of get some in-depth on there as well. There's some games I don't even like. Okay, so my house, I have a small closet. In the small closet, I've got some board games. I've probably got like 7 or 8 board games. I also want to say that at least a half of them are your board games. Okay? I'm not even joking. And so I need to expand my board game portfolio here, and I'm hoping that Carla's commendations will do it as well as everything we talk about here. So, you ready?
I am ready for this.
Okay. First is up, Designer's Corner. We're going to talk about design here. So, Carla, you more or less came up with this idea. So, show us this pitch. Talk about how we're going to do Designer's Corner.
Okay. So I have this Fail Faster playtesting journal where this is supposed to help you. Playtesting is when you take your game design and you play it and you basically test out, like, are things working, what needs balancing, like all the things to make a good game into a great game. So this journal, one of the really cool parts about it is that it opens up and it has like a big list of mechanics, themes, and constraints.
Here, I'll hold it so you can talk.
Yeah.
I'll be Vanna.
So if you want to just you want to design a game and you just have to roll 2 dice, and then there's dice on the sides, so it'll give you a certain mechanic, theme, and a constraint to design around, because game design, it can be kind of hard if you can just do anything. Like, are you gonna have 300 cards? Well, then you have to work on 300 cards, and that'll take a long time. But if you have all these constraints, it makes game design go a lot faster, because you have one of the things is like a nautical theme. Like, okay, if you want something with nautical, it could be boats or dolphins, and it gets you to start talking and to actually make decisions. And once you can make a certain amount of decisions, you can make the prototype and get the design to the table. And the important part with game design is getting it to the table as fast as possible, because otherwise it's not a game yet, right? If you can't play it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you can't play it yet, it's just an idea, something you're going to get to or thinking about ahead of time. So, good point.
So what we're going to do is we already rolled 2 dice. So we have our constraints for this game design challenge, and we're just going to talk it out and do it.
Okay, let's do it. So I'll pull the notes up here. So the challenge is, and based on this list here, I'll give you the 3 categories here. We have a mechanic for the game, a theme, and constraints for the game.
Oh, and if you don't know what a mechanic is, it's some people call it a mechanism, but it's just basically how the components interact or how you interact with the components, something like that.
So the mechanic for this game is a deck or pool building mechanic. The theme for this game is fighting, and the constraint is that it uses cards, and all cards must be face up at all times. That's what we're working with here.
Yep.
So let's do this. Okay, so a deck pool building game. What is, to help me understand a little bit better, and maybe some of the people listening, what is a deck or pool building? What that mechanic? What is it?
So, a deck building game is typically where you start off with a certain number of cards,
Okay.
and you usually have a hand of 5 cards. You can play them, but you can gain more cards. It's kind of like Magic. If
I know that game.
Magic, if as you were playing Magic, your deck just suddenly started getting bigger and more powerful.
Okay.
Or alternately taking out some cards, because there's always cards that are like less helpful or not so good right now.
Yeah.
So one part of deck building is actually the opposite, where you're like culling cards or getting rid of them from the deck. There's one card game that I really like, which is Abandon All Artichokes, where each of your cards is some vegetable, and if you can manage to get rid of all the artichokes, because, artichokes are the worst.
They're not that great. No, they're not.
Then you can win the game.
Okay.
So that's deck building. But pool building can be something else. It could be dice. Like, maybe you have a certain amount of custom dice, and you get to roll them all and do the things that they say each turn.
Okay.
But if you start putting more powerful dice, or just more dice, you will get more things.
Okay.
So something that we're building up from a base set, essentially.
Okay. That helps out. I understand that. I understand deck building a little bit more, because I've seen a couple of games, or at least heard the term deck building, but I've never actually played, at least to my knowledge, a deck building game, and as far as understanding that mechanic, I've never known. So, okay.
And another alternate thing that you can do instead of deck building is called bag building. The differences between these are, when you're deck building, you are just drawing from the deck and discarding, and you will eventually go through your entire deck and shuffle it.
Yep.
With bag building, you are typically putting things into a bag and drawing them out. Whatever happens with them happens, and then you put them back in the bag.
Okay.
So you might put something into the bag that you really love and you want to draw and use, but you may never draw that thing.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, that's true. That's a good point. I've never actually played a game like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get some of the ideas flowing here.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's just a different sort of probability. So, with this, we're going to make a fighting game.
Fighting game. So, where do we start? I would assume we would want to start at the theme.
Yes.
And we have to theme, once we know kind of what we're wanting to do, then we can tie the mechanics and the constraints into that. So, fighting game. What comes to you? I've played some fighting games in my time, so I have an idea for that. What are some ideas you have?
So, I'm not super into fighting, but there can be things where you're fighting and you're not super attacking. One thing that I like to do is choose what is fighting.
Okay.
So for instance, it could be humans, it could be boxing or something like that, or it could be hedgehogs. I mean, what do you feel about hedgehogs?
Wait. Well, I mean, for people who don't know, we're recording this right around the time that Sonic the Hedgehog just came out in theaters.
Oh yeah,
so
that is a thing.
I really want to see that movie. So hedgehogs are very much on brand right now. And hedgehogs are cool. How would fighting work with hedgehogs?
I don't know, because they're slow. Well, other than Sonic.
I was going to say,
and they're a little spiky. But, I don't think they can really spike each other.
No, I think usually when they get scared or do anything, they roll into a ball and they roll away and you don't touch them. Otherwise, you get prickly.
But that could be something cool in this game, if we want to do the hedgehog thing. Because, maybe, we're fighting, but if any of our hedgehogs touch another hedgehog, they, go into a ball. And then, you have to discard those cards or something, because they're in a ball now.
Oh, okay. Ooh, that could work. Okay.
So maybe there's, a spatial element to this, where we're putting out our different hedgehogs, and we're trying to, I don't know, fight for the forest.
So I'm trying to think. I'm thinking of ideas, but I'm also keeping in mind the constraint face up at the same time. You mentioned something, and it got me thinking too. So you don't play fighting much, but fighting doesn't necessarily have to be physical. Mm-hmm. What if it was one idea I had for a theme could be a debate?
Oh, yeah.
And not even political debate, but maybe it's like high school debate team themed something where it's like, you're from East High and I'm from West High, and our schools it's our annual debate meetup or something like that, and tying some of the mechanics and the constraints around like debating.
Oh yeah, we could also like it could be like a student president thing.
Yeah, it could be something like that.
Yeah,
that would be cool. What other themes do we have? You have any more?
I always go the animal route. Like, I was also thinking about, like, what if they were penguin cubes and, like, the cubes were, like you were... What's that Olympic sport? The curling?
Curling.
Yeah, you're fighting, but with, it's like curling, but with penguins that are cubes for whatever reason.
That's funny. And cool, I like that. Okay. I like the penguins.
Oh, and another thing. So, I have been researching the desert lately because I have a game called Tumbletown, and a lot of my game design comes from like just Wikipedia, where I just like read Wikipedia, I get ideas. So one of the cool things that's in the desert is called a ring-tailed cat, where it's actually not a cat; it's more of a raccoon, but it looks like kind of a cross between a cat and a ring-tailed lemur. They have really long tails.
Okay.
But, like, if this ring-tailed cat might be, like, battling, it might be, like, swinging on its tail.
Oh, that'd be cool. Like a monkey a little bit. That'd be cool. Okay.
But cuter. But I do...
Like a monkey, but cuter. Guys, you heard it here first.
I'm not a monkey person because they eat people's faces.
That's not very nice.
Yeah. I just remember, like, Nashville used to have that person that got their face eaten by a monkey. There was an ad, and so I would hate driving through Nashville.
Oh God, I didn't know that. Now I'm scared to drive to Nashville now.
It's like advertising. Nashville, what are you doing? I am associating the monkey that ate that person's face with Nashville forever.
Okay, so themes. Okay, we have 3 themes. We have I think we have the penguins. Mm-hmm. Penguins doing curling.
Yeah.
We have like high school debate, student president era thing, and then we have, what was the first one?
Oh, hedgehogs.
Hedgehogs. There we go. Which one do we like? Which one do we want to do?
I'm good with any of them. If we do the student president, I think it should be like some sort of, I don't know, maybe dinosaurs.
Maybe dinosaurs?
I don't know. I always like to put on an animal theme to make it a little bit different. Or ducks. Because wouldn't the duck make the best student president?
There are a lot of animals, though.
Okay. What's your favorite?
You know what? I want to see where we're going to go with the penguins.
Okay.
That's what I want to. That's what I want to see. So let's do the penguin one.
Okay. So with this, we are pushing penguins. I think this is apparently a dexterity game now. Or it could be. So it could be. Because if you're taking penguins that are cubes and pushing them and maybe battling, like kind of like an area control thing, but we can't forget that we have this whole deck building, pool building.
Like that is our mechanic. That's what we're working with.
Okay, so going back to that pool building idea.
Okay.
We have a fleet of penguins. Like maybe we start off with our starter penguins.
Okay.
That are just, regular size. I have these dice here that are like 16 millimeter. But maybe like each round, depending on how well you do or something like that, you can build up your pool of penguins. So maybe if I focus in on gathering more penguins, like I'll end up with 5 penguins where you just have your starter 3.
Okay.
Or maybe like I get a lot of penguins and you just get jumbo penguin. Because it could be like a big fat penguin that's like...
Is the idea like we're throwing penguins at each other?
Oh, well, I was thinking it'd be like curling, so, okay. I say curling as if I know what it is. What I think it is like you're pushing something toward a goal and there's like a circle or something.
Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it. But what I really remember is like the people like cleaning the ice real fast.
You have to clean the ice because there's the circle. And you have to get it like as close as you can to the middle. Mm-hmm. I think that's how curling works. Please don't judge me if I'm wrong on that.
Okay. Well, let's say that we have like we're both like on opposite sides of a table and we're just chucking our penguins.
Okay.
And we're trying to get to a certain goal. Like maybe there's actually like there's a way to get points. There's like an area where you can chuck your penguin. Like if you chuck it off the table, you get to get a new penguin and something like
Okay.
that. Way to upgrade and like do that, like get the super big penguins, because like once you have the super big penguin, maybe it can get like points and an additional penguin if you like throw it easily enough.
True. Okay. I'm liking that. Different size and different abilities of the penguins. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
There's a super bouncy penguin or a rolly penguin. I don't know.
Okay. And I like that too. Like it, especially if you have each player on each side of the table, and you have like maybe the center part that has like maybe a ring that has point values. Like if you get it within this ring, you get 1 point. You put it within this ring, you get 2 points, etc., etc., till you get to the middle. I like that idea a lot, and that adds a little bit. Yeah, I know the mechanics deck or pool building, but that does add some like I think in my mind like physical. You know, some games where you actually get to flip or throw stuff out. Like what I'm a child, so please bear with me. But like Mousetrap, is that the game? Or like you flip the stuff and the things move and
Oh yeah, and like the mousetrap will eventually go down, and then
Yeah.
it's whatever that machine is.
I don't even know if it had a name. It was just the machine, but
Okay.
I digress. Like something very similar like that. I think that like being able to slide, since we're doing curling, like you can slide or toss or maybe that's part of the mechanic. Like maybe there's a penguin where you have to slide it, and maybe there's a penguin, the bouncy one, where you have to toss it.
Oh yeah,
You know,
like chucking the penguin.
Who knows? Sure.
Yeah, I like this because well, I always like when there's like different things for the player to do. Like maybe one player like they actually care about winning and points, but like what I care about is I want to get the mega penguin. So like
That's the only reason you're playing is the mega penguin.
I want it so bad. So like I'm just gonna chuck my penguins into like the penguin nest or something.
Okay.
Or maybe like it could be like where you want to ricochet. Like you get an extra penguin if you hit the nest, and then like you could try to hit the nest and get points at the same time.
Good point. Okay. So if it's like curling, well, okay, so similar theme, but it may help in to make like a more cohesive game. So let's say the game, instead of curling per se, what if it's like you are two penguins tribes, I don't know, from each group, and your board is like an ocean or like the water, and they have little fish pockets or like something like that, and maybe actually like instead of you both trying to aim towards a central goal, it gives a little bit more strategy, and you have the board that is maybe customizable, or maybe you can rearrange, and your deck or pool building aspect, which we haven't talked about yet, you can maybe toss or slide them to certain sections to try and say, oh, if I get over there, I'll get an extra couple of points, but if I miss, something might happen.
Oh yeah, like that could work. Like if there was like holes and like, oh okay, so maybe this certain section has a bunch of this certain type of fish, and if I'm the only one there, then I get all the fish. But like if I see you and you are with all the fish, I'm like, well, I want to get in on that too, where I will benefit if I go there, but I will also take away some fish from you.
Yeah.
And you'll get less.
That'd be a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. Are we sticking with that?
I think that's good.
Okay, good. We like that. Okay. So.
Oh, and maybe they're resources. So like, well, there's different types of fish in the ocean. And maybe like if I am able to like get a certain type of fish, I can upgrade my penguin, and maybe there's a fish that takes like jalapeno or something, and it'll become a spicy penguin, and the spicy penguin is like more bouncy, or it can do more things. Or you can chuck it twice, like instead of just being like the standard penguin, you push it and it goes where it goes. But this spicy penguin that ate the spicy fish, like if I don't like where it went, I can take it back, throw it again.
Oh, okay. That's a good mechanic. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
And then slowly you can like feed your penguins different food. They can become stronger and better in a variety of ways and hopefully get more food and then build up more penguins. Or instead of feeding it directly to these certain penguins, like you can decide like are you going to upgrade your penguins or are you going to make another penguin by just leaving food for the penguin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Okay. I'm liking this. I'm digging this. Okay, so we've got our theme. I think we've got a pretty solid game here.
Mm-hmm.
The deck building, pool building part. That mechanic? How do we get that?
Well, I think that's the penguins.
The penguins. So how? Like what in the mechanic? Is it basically taking one penguin and upgrading the penguin? Is it?
Well, I would say that
multiple penguins that do different things.
I would think that you'd start off with like your 4 standard penguins.
Okay.
And then from there, you can either start like saving food to get more penguins, so that you can end up like with 10 penguins at the end and getting all the food, or you could just build up the penguins and make them into very specialized penguins.
Okay. That way they can give them special abilities that could help you get more fish.
Yeah, and depending on where we go, like maybe I'm just going to get lots of penguin strategy, and so like I have 10 penguins and I'm getting 10 resources or whatever it is a turn. Okay. But you have 4 very specialized penguins. Like maybe one of them, like if it's really close to like a fishing area but it didn't get in, like that penguin you can just push. Just like kind of like a putt. Or
like you talked about I love the jumbo penguin. Yeah, the jumbo penguin, where if you have a jumbo penguin and you slide it into an area that has enemy penguins, the enemy penguins are then kicked out. And the jumbo penguin's the only one that's in there. Okay, I like that. That's cool.
Super fat penguin. It will not let you or anyone else eat at this fishery.
Okay. Done. I like it. Okay. So we got our mechanic down. What was the last one?
Oh, we didn't do any cards.
That's the last. What is the constraint? It uses cards, and all cards must be face up at the same time.
Okay. Well, what we can do for that is like maybe each of the fishery holes, they have the cards, and so we know where all the different types of fish are.
Okay.
And like so maybe this one fishery hole, like it'll only have 3 cards, so you can put 3 penguins in there. And each one will get a fish. But if there's 4 penguins in there, one of them isn't going to get a card or a fish.
Ooh, good point.
And then, like, once you take the cards, you either, like, spend them to get more penguins, or you have the card in front of you because, like, you just flip over the card, and on the back side it tells you, like, what kind of penguin upgrade you get.
Okay, that would be cool. Have use double sides on the card. And that way, that would be an interesting, because you could play the mechanic where, let's say, if we're playing, there's three fish. Oh, there's 2 fish in one area. I get one in. I get a penguin in. You get a penguin in. And so whoever got one in first, they get to pick which fish they want, and maybe each fish has a random effect or ability that could benefit, that could not benefit you. Maybe there's one that says like this fish makes you very sick. And you have to lose, you miss a turn or something like that.
Yeah.
And throwing your penguin out there. Or another one says, hey, you're super energized now. Get 2 extra penguins on the next turn.
Yes.
So, okay. I like that. That's really cool. And that especially in that picking part, you're hoping when you get your fish that you'll get some abilities that you can use to help increase your chances of getting more fish. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
So, in my mind, this game is played like you can throw a penguin and that's your turn. Like, you throw a penguin and you do the effect for it, and maybe you leave it out there. And then, like, the next person goes, and I don't know if, like, the penguins will be, like, special. Like, if you'll be able to tell your penguins apart, or if, like, somebody else can go and take those penguins if it gives them food. Like, if you can get a penguin over to your side by offering it food.
I was thinking of just making them, like, there were penguin tribes. Or you know what? We could even just do. I mean, there are multiple types of penguins, so you could have.
Oh yeah, they could
Depending
look
on
different.
depending on how many players we would want in this game, so maybe 2 to 4 players. Each player has their own set of penguins. So you want emperor penguins. So probably like the only penguins I know. And then the other 3, this is a different type of penguin. This is a different type of penguin. This is a different type of penguin. So that way people can kind of tell what they're
Yeah.
where their penguin is when everything's said and done.
And maybe like each penguin has a certain penguin power. Like the emperor penguins can only do this, or they like a certain type of fish a little bit more than other penguins.
That's true.
I always like giving incentives, like for players to be different, like because you don't want everyone to be doing the same thing every game.
I agree. That does offer that difference does help too, especially if you're really good at playing the game a certain way. Picking your penguin could help you play that game that way.
Mm-hmm.
Help increase your chances of winning. That'll be pretty cool. Okay, I think we have a game here.
Yeah.
Okay, so
just checking it.
let's do the review for first designer's corner we have here. So the constraints were, we got a deck pool building game that's fighting. You use these cards, or hold on, let me step back. The mechanic is that it's a deck or pool building game.
Mm-hmm.
The scenario is that it's a fighting game. The constraints are that it uses cards, and all the cards must be face up at the same time. So we have come up with a penguin curling game.
Yeah, where we're fighting over the fish.
And your resources are the penguins,
mm-hmm.
and the fish in each one, and then the cards that are up are face up at the same time, or basically you have a board that it's basically the ocean, and you have sections or holes or something, and you toss or slide your penguins to that section and try to get the fish. The fish will in turn give you points or powers or special abilities to help you get more fish.
Yeah.
And I would guess the objective of the game is to get the most. Would you get the most fish, or would it be whoever gets the most points from fish?
I would think points from fish, because then you could like evaluate, like, are you going to keep this fish to like get a better like upgrade, or are you going to keep the fish for points?
Points, okay.
Well, and like some fish might be really good for points, and some fish might be really bad for points.
Good point. Okay.
Usually what I like to do is to make like some be really good for points and some to be really good for like engine building or like upgrading and stuff.
Okay.
So like if you know that you want points, you go for this certain type of fish. But if you know that you want to, have like the big penguin, you go for this other kind of fish.
Okay. Done. We have it. It's locked.
Yeah, we have an idea and we can prototype it.
Now here's the fun part. Prototype. Name. What do we call it?
I'm
putting it on the spot.
I always like alliteration, so it could be something with penguins.
Okay.
What is like penguins pugilist? Isn't that like a type of like
pugilist is like a fighter.
Yeah.
Penguin pugilism? No, I would just say penguin pugilist. I think that's how you say it.
I don't know. That could be a weird one. That is try one.
Try one. Okay. Well, it's prototype, so the name could change at any time. But
yeah.
For now, penguin pugilists.
Yeah. Or Chuck That Penguin.
I like Chuck That Penguin better.
Yeah, I mean that's what you're going to be doing.
I really like chucking that. Yeah, Chuck That Penguin. It's great. See how great this process is? Chuck That Penguin is the name of this prototype game. So I'm gonna type that in. That way we have the exclamation point too, so they know we mean business.
Yeah, I mean, exclamation point. We're gonna chuck it. We're not just gonna like chuck the penguin.
Chuck it. So Chuck That Penguin. You like it?
I like it. I like it.
Cool idea. If you were a game designer, you would ship this maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'd prototype it and see, because dexterity games are actually pretty popular, and this seems like a dexterity game that, it still has strategy. But I mean, the core of it, you're just chucking a penguin.
I did it. Yay. I feel cool now and help design the game. So that's segment 1, guys. That's Designer's Corner. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Kind of got some insight into designing, especially for deck pool building. I learned a little bit on that. So let's move to segment 2, which is Diary of a Game Designer. We get to, again, this is the absorption part. This is where I get to just sit here and pull information from you. And like, oh man, this is so cool. You're doing such cool, awesome stuff. Like, you're all over the place. You're a very busy woman. Very busy woman. So, but especially in talking about Weird Giraffe Games, and you started back in 2016, we're in 2020 now. In the 4 years, you've had a lot of experience with working and dealing with board games. So, let's talk about some insight and stuff you may have being a game designer. I think one of the notes here the note we put in here for this topic, you're going to talk to us about contests.
Okay, so
Talk to us about it.
Contests. If board game contests didn't exist, I probably wouldn't be a game designer. Well, I mean,
Really?
I would have had that first game design, but the reason why I really play tested it and finished it was because there was a Cardboard Edison contest, and it had a deadline, and that deadline every year is January 31st. So Dragon Con is in like August. I picked that game up again in like December, but then I found out about the Cardboard Edison Award, and I was like, okay, I need to play test this a lot and get rules written and do a video and do all these things by January 31st.
So you basically gave yourself like a month of time.
But because I had that month, I did it. Like, I have worked on other game designs where if I just need to finish it when I need to finish it, what ends up happening is that I do something else.
It happens to us all, right?
Yeah, like, it's hard to finish things, especially when there's, like, dishes to do and laundry and, TV and, like, just, like, not doing things.
Yeah, adulting, as the kids call it these days.
Like, the laundry is never ending. But, whenever I have a contest that I have to get done, it's like, oh, I'll do the laundry next week.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I am, like, getting the rules done. Well, and part of it is also, like, saying when something is done. Like, when you have a deadline, it's like, okay, this is done. I will focus on something else. Like, there's always so much stuff to do. Okay. But without a deadline, you can be like, well, the rules are written, but I still have these, like, 10 things that I want to do at some point in time. So, yeah, contests really got me, like, started, like, actually with the finishing process and being okay with things being done.
Okay. So, I'll go back a sec here. So, Cardboard Edison, was that the name of the contest?
Yes.
Is there some specific reason behind the name, or is that just the name that they chose? Is there some?
Well, I think it's because Edison was a pretty intelligent guy, and cardboard is for board games.
I know if there
think it's easy like that, but I haven't actually, like, asked the people that run it.
Is that contest something that is done as, like, some nationwide thing or some worldwide thing?
It's actually worldwide.
Wow,
so
okay.
I actually have quite the history with Cardboard Edison. They were the reason why I finished my first game, Super Hack Override. And essentially most years I try to actually enter it. So that's my next game. I started, I think that September, like, but I wanted to really get it to a really good point by January. So I really tried, and when I entered that one as well. Neither of those games won because I was, like, new at designing. But I think it was not the next year, but the year after, which was last year, I was actually asked to judge the Cardboard Edison.
Whoa, that's awesome.
So it can be super fancy. One thing I had to do was I had to watch so many videos. So I got to, like, kind of know, like, immediately whether a video was going to be good or not. Okay. Can you guess, like, how I could like instantly before the video starts know if a video was like if I should just immediately reject it or not.
Before the video starts?
Yep.
Oh God. I don't know.
So
I have no idea.
It's the time, the amount of time
Okay.
that the video is. So Cardboard Edison said that they will only watch the first 5 minutes of your video. So any video that was like 10 minutes long, that was not a good game.
Yeah.
Like if they can't summarize it in like less than 10 minutes, that means like they don't know why the game is good.
Yeah.
It's just, it kind of looked like a hot mess at that point. But then there's another like type of video, and those were the videos that went exactly 5 minutes. And what that said to me is that they did the video a bunch and tried to shove in as much information about that game as physically possible, but they weren't concise. Like, they still did not know why their game was cool. So any of the videos that were like less, they were just instantly better. Like, well, they weren't instantly better, but like all the quality and how they talked about their games was just better.
Yeah. In based on what you're saying, I think a thing I would think about is if you are working at a company and you have a job offering, or there's some opening that pops up. You got this company, you're the boss, you're the one who's going to make the picks. People start sending in resumes. You're a busy person. You have a lot of stuff going on, and if you start getting resumes that are just like these diatribes and just paragraphs upon paragraphs of all this stuff detailing exactly who they are and what they've done for all this time, that has multiple pages and whatnot, over time you're gonna be like, no, I'm done with that. I'm not gonna look at that. Not even gonna give you the time of day. As opposed to if you got a resume that it's like, here's a quick description of what I'm about. Here are the bullet points. Here's what I'm good at. Here's a bullet point of what I'm, past job history and whatnot. You have a better chance of at least looking at that more so than the other ones.
Oh, definitely. Like, I also at one point in my life was in charge of reading resumes, and it's like, oh, if this person can just have a paragraph up front why they're a great fit for the job, it's like, I can definitely read a paragraph. I do not want 3 pages of resume. Like, yeah. No.
And so it kind of gaining, again, part of that absorption here from the lesson you're talking about here is really just keeping stuff short and sweet. If you know your game very well, you're going to know the bullet points. You know what makes it special. Just like with games in general, I think in 2020, gaming period, video games, board games, card games, dice games, whatever, are popular than they've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to see a lot of similarities and a lot of games that do similar stuff, and really showcasing and talking about what makes yours different. Why should we care about yours? Give us the quick and dirty. Boom, 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 boom. And use those points to kind of concisely bring down what your game is about, but also find a way to draw people in.
Yeah, like as fast as possible. Like if you can hook me in like the first 20 seconds, like that's way better than me having to wait till like minute 4.
Yeah. Well, think about this. Something as simple as our name for our game that we made in Designer's Corner. So, Penguin Pugilists. Cool, interesting. Thinking about it now, like, pugilist is a very, I don't want to say intelligent word, but it's a very big word that
maybe
some people...
esoteric?
There you go. Esoteric. Proving the point, Carla, proving the point. But chuck that penguin.
Yeah, well, Chuck That Penguin is really good because, like, what do you think you're going to be doing during the game? Well, you're going to be chucking penguins. Or
Yep.
if you're not chucking penguins, that's a bad name for that game.
But it's clear, it's to the point, it has something catchy that I think can instantly draw. I'm chucking penguins, whoa, what's going on here? So, okay, that's some cool little insight there.
Mm-hmm. So I've also been entering a lot more contests than I have in the past. I actually made a goal for myself that I was going to enter 12 contests throughout this entire year.
Wow. Okay. How's that working out?
I have entered 3 so far.
Okay. Yeah, you're on track then.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
pretty good.
and yeah, it's not even March. But why I'm doing this is because, the Cardboard Edison, that one is wide open. You can enter whatever you want.
Okay.
It does give you that deadline. But other contests, like, they give certain, like, constraints, much like, we rolled the dice and we designed that game.
Okay.
But getting just the different constraints that I wouldn't have otherwise, thought of. For instance, like one that I've been trying to think of a design for is this, it's the Game Crafter Proto-Atlanta contest.
Okay.
I guess they're just judging it in part at Proto-Atlanta.
Okay.
But what that one is about is that you have to have a certain cost, like it has to cost less than $20, and it has to play in less than 20 minutes. And that is really weird for me, because, like, I normally make, like, games with lots of things, and games that play in, like, half an hour to 45 minutes. So for me to just make a 20-minute game, I haven't done that. So it gives me, like, it gets me designing and doing things I wouldn't normally do, and then hopefully I'm just going to be a much better designer over this year.
Well, that helps when you step outside of your box and see, the different type of grass that's on the other side. But that you can, even if you don't win, you can take what you've learned back in and say, ooh, I can make what I know better because of what I've learned and the experiences that I've had doing these contests and doing stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and one part about having, like, a lot of designs. So theoretically, I'm going to have 12 games that are designed around these contests. Maybe the games aren't going to be great, but hopefully I'll have, like, some great component in them. Like, one of them will have, like, a unique, like, spatial thing, and maybe I can, like, take all these different games that had these certain constraints and maybe, like, shove them together, or take the different aspects and hopefully have something that's really good at the end.
Okay. Very interesting. I didn't know about these contests. Is it, if for someone who's starting out or maybe wanting to pursue game design, would you recommend that they look into the contest?
Oh, yes. I would super recommend looking into contests. Specifically, Board Game Geek, which is it's a website that a lot of board gamers go onto. They have these 18-card contests.
Okay.
So the constraint is you have to do something with 18 cards. Like, sometimes they're just straight up, that's the only constraint, but other times they have theme or mechanic or something to do with it. And why I mentioned the 18 card games is that 18 cards, I mean, it's still a number.
Yep.
Like, it's a non-zero number, so it will take some time to do. But if you're only making 18 cards, it won't take you forever.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, because you within that constraint, you really can't go around that 18. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to work for a year on an 18-card game.
I hope not.
I would hope.
If you are, you're doing too much.
Yeah, you should be satisfied or something. Or you iterated a lot and it's very different from the initial thing. But yeah, like, anyone should be able to just figure out 18 cards, get it played, and really start iterating. Well, because that's the thing. It's like, a lot of people get stuck on the whole making the prototype. But if you can only, like, work on 18 different cards, that means you should be able to get something to the table in a number of hours.
It shouldn't take you too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you can learn more about game design, because, like, I try to get my designs to the table as fast as possible because I know that they're not going to be great. Like, and you can only figure out the problems once you play them.
It's a good piece of advice. Instead of trying to figure out the problems in here a lot, it's a lot easier to figure them out on here at the table.
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently he has some comments about that as well.
Yeah. He's all about playing games.
Okay. So contests. It's a good thing. Any other cool anecdotes? I did number one, 2 questions. Number 1, did you ever win Cardboard Edison?
I have not, but I feel like my chances are really good this year.
Okay. Fingers crossed. When do you find out?
Well, they're doing the first round of judging. The contest, you had to have everything in by January 31st.
Yep.
I believe if you are one of the finalists, you find out sometime in March, and you have a month to get in a prototype.
Okay.
And then they do the finalist thing where that's what I did last year, where I got to go out to a location and just play games all day.
Awesome.
Yeah. So hopefully
we're gonna track that. We're gonna see if Carla gets a win here.
Yeah.
Awesome. Number 2, which now I've forgotten. Talk about Cardboard Edison. Did judging help you a lot, and like judging other people's games? We talked about the video length.
For sure. Like, I learned about the video length, but I also learned like other things, like how the Cardboard Edison is judged. So with Cardboard Edison, they play at every player count.
Okay.
So what that means is that for a 2 to 4 player game, they have 2 people play at 2 players, 3 people play at 3 players, and 4 people play at 4. So say that your game is 2 to 5 players. Okay? If it's not a good game to play at 5 players, that is now the player count that the most people have played at.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. So if it is really good at 2 players, but twice as many people have played it at 5 players, the whole everyone's gonna get an equal vote.
Yep.
So
as opposed to okay.
Yeah, really do not lie about those player counts. Like, give the ideal player count. It's much better to say that a game is 2 to 3 players if those are if it plays wonderfully at those player counts.
Just because your game only plays for 2 to 3 players doesn't mean it's a bad game. Like, if it plays great, but only with those 2 or 3 players and that small of a player count, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great game for those players. Like, you don't want to dilute it and just have people be like, oh, well, it's a game at 4, but it's great at 3. And that counts for all things, because you don't ever know how somebody's going to judge your game, but they do judge, based on the cover. And if, it always has a player count on the cover. So if it's not a good game at 5, it shouldn't be a 5-player game.
Good point. Cool. Diaries of a Game Designer. A round of applause. That's good. Yeah. Cool insight. Hopefully aspiring designers out there listening and watching, you've learned something here. Going to wrap up the show here. The last segment is Carla's commendation. You've got a game that you've picked to recommend some people to play. What is this game?
So this is a massive game called Flotilla.
Let me talk about it while I show it to the camera.
Yeah.
Is it holding it right? Yeah.
Flotilla. I do not recommend this if you are a beginner to gaming, because this is a sort of heavy game. Games have different weights to them, and it's kind of like a cognitive load thing.
Okay.
With light games, you can typically, they might be 15 minutes to 30 minutes, have really easy things to do. You could introduce them to non-gamers.
Okay.
Heavy games like this one, it plays in 90 minutes. You have a lot of choices. There's a lot of things to think about and do.
Okay. I'm going to show people the back of the box here too.
Yeah.
So some people who are watching video might be able to read it.
So, Flotilla. What I really like about this is partly in the theme, because this game, it's an alternate past game where, what that means is that, we had the same history up to a certain point in time, and then an event happened that was different than our, what actually happened. And in this case, what happened is we were doing, nuclear testing, and instead of, it being all okay, what happened was that things blew up,
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
Yeah.
We irradiated everything. We melted the polar ice caps. We now just live on these flotillas, which are these big, basically garbage piles.
Ooh, okay.
Well, that's what's left, because
everything else it's all garbage now that everything's destroyed. Okay.
So what I like about this is at its core, you're just, it's a deck building game, and you're just playing one card.
Okay.
So
wait. One card the whole game?
One card per turn.
Okay.
So, and you're just doing whatever the card says, and then your turn is over.
Ooh.
So,
Interesting.
there's different guilds and types of like cards that you have. You recruit a crew, and each crew member does a different thing. Like, one of them will let you go diving because, like, there's all these things that are now in the ocean, and you want to get artifacts and resources so that you can sell them.
Okay.
So one of them is just diving, and that involves rolling dice and seeing what you found. There's another one that is just trading things in. And these are different guilds. So there's, like, you start with one of the traders, but you can get more traders that do better things or different trades. There are the founders, which help build out, like, the areas where you can search and go dive.
Okay, cool.
There's the founders where, I think those are actually the, like, building out your play sphere. But you can also build up your repertoire, basically, with the different guilds.
Okay.
And there's these dials, and basically you just push a dial around, and it kind of has an area control mechanic where if you have the most, I don't know, whatever repertoire with each of the different guilds, you'll get, like, I think it is 10 points for, like, having the most and 5 for having the second most. Okay. So you can focus on that. But also when you're going around these dials for each of the different guilds, like, the traders give you resources. You can get the better people from that guild. You can get more money, etc.
Okay.
So there's 2 different phases to this game. And you never have to go to phase 2 if you don't want to.
Okay. Ooh. Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
That's interesting.
So there's the sky side and the sea side. The sea side is all about going out and finding resources and diving and building out, like, the areas you can do that.
Okay.
You can instead, like, leave the sea, go onto the flotilla, which is the sky side.
Okay.
And that is a different game.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, well, you're still playing together, but you flip over all your cards, all your actions change into different things. And now, like,
this is interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so before, where you're on the seaside, you have to, like, change resources into money, and money is really hard to get. Well, people that live on the sky side, they get so much money all the time. So they can just buy as much resources. They can go and discover things. Like, if they start, there's a sonar track where when you go diving, if you roll a sonar, you get a certain thing, depending on if anyone's sky side went and has changed the sonar track.
Okay.
So it starts off bad, but then it starts getting really good. But it's the people on the sky side that, like, make that track better. But it only affects the people on the seaside. So they have to think about, like, are they going to get points and make things a lot better for the seaside people?
Oh, okay. So you have to make a decision on if you want to be on the seaside or the sky side. Can you flip between those?
Nope. It's like you start off on seaside, and if you go sky side, you're just there forever.
You never can go back down to seaside?
No.
Oh, okay.
But you never have to go sky side.
Okay, so only you have to make that decision if it's going to benefit you in the end. Okay, that's a good point. Okay, it's an interesting mechanic. I've seen something like that in the game.
Yeah, I've not seen anything like that either. So that's why I really like it. Like, I've played it a number of times, and so far I've only just stayed seaside, mainly probably because I like boats and stuff. But, like, there's
boats
a lot to explore. Like, and depending on who's playing with you, etc. Because if you have a lot of people that go sky side, you might want to stay seaside. But if no one goes sky side, then it gets really hard for everyone to do anything. So you might want to be the first person to go sky side and really take advantage of that.
Okay. Boy. Okay. Cool. That is Flotilla. Unless, am I missing anything else? Is that it?
Flotilla. It is 90 to 150 minutes for 3 to 5 players.
Okay. Very cool. I'm gonna have to play this game. We're gonna have to play this.
Yeah,
sometime.
I'll teach it to you.
You show me how this game works, because that sounds really cool. I want to see how the sky side and the seaside mechanics work, because that, again, I hadn't seen a mechanic like that in the game. That's pretty cool. Cough that out there. That's it. That's the show.
We did it.
How did you? Did you have fun?
Yeah,
First
I
episode.
had fun. I think it was good. I got like, well, I was kind of scared at some points because like there was a cat over there, and I was like, he's gonna knock everything over.
I'm telling you, if you're not watching the video of this, you're missing out. It's gold. No, it's the fun part, especially doing this after a while, because I have a cat and I have 2 dogs, and they've popped into the room at some points during recording. Is like keeping an eye on like really close to that light or that microphone or that power surge, and so I'm checking it out there. But it's not a big deal. It's fun. They help add color and character to the show. But guys, that's it for episode 1. It's in the books for Dice, Decks, and Design. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching and joining in. Thanks, Carla, for being a part of this. I'm excited to record more of these. And definitely let us know, guys, what you think of the show. What do you like? What would you like to see? Definitely hit us up. You can hit us up on social media, on Twitter. We're at Rocket Punch Go. You can also reach out to Carla at Weird Giraffe Games on basically Twitter, Facebook, any social media platform that you can find her on there. On our website, anything like that, let us know. We're always looking for ways to improve the show, and we've got all sorts of crazy ideas, and we definitely want to hear from you guys on how we can make the show better for you. Any last words?
Thanks everyone for watching. Hopefully you give us suggestions, or else we'll just talk about penguin cubes again.
Chuck that penguin. It's going to be a hit. You guys don't even know yet. Or maybe if you're listening in the future and you've already bought your copy, maybe you're like, oh man, this is the best game ever. I don't know, but we'll find out. Until the next episode, guys, thank you very much. We'll see you then.